Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, CEO and founder, and today I welcome Suzette Graham to the show. Welcome, Suzette.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me on.
Well, Suzette, for those of you that didn't know, myself included, is a former Mrs. Alaska. Wow, you're gonna have to tell us about that. And Suzette founded almost 10 years ago, Patriot Angels, to lead a change in helping U.S. wartime veterans get approved for their aid and attendance pension from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Suzette has spent a lifetime advocating for the vulnerable. In February of 2000, she received the Heroism Award from the governor of Alaska, Tony Knowles, for her lobbying efforts in getting the laws changed to better protect children in the custody of the foster care system. As Suzette's passion for assisting the vulnerable came to fruition, she established a team of advocates dedicated to providing funding solutions and Veterans Administration's benefits navigation to veterans, widows, families, caregivers, and communities. By utilizing veteran pension funds made available through the VA, our veterans and their families can better afford their choice of accommodation in a senior living community, as well as alleviate the stress behind long-term funding. And we know that can be very, very great. Well, welcome a powerful woman, a woman in leadership, Suzette. Again, welcome to Grow Your Occupancy podcast.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
It sounds to me, Suzette, that you started this company, Patriot Angels, about 10 years ago because you have a passion for helping. I'm curious, during this journey, what have you found most gratifying?
So since starting Patriot Angels, the most gratifying part of it is the stories that we get to hear, the lives that are changed. When somebody calls you crying because they just got approved, didn't know how they were going to pay for care or how they were going to continue mom or dad's care in a community until they get approved. And then, the stories are fantastic. We had one gentleman call that he said he ate every third day until he got approved because he was spending all of his resources on his wife, making sure that she got the care she needed. So that's the reason you get to make a difference in people's lives every single day.
Wow. It is the stories, the impact, most of us, all of us are in the senior living business. Generally speaking, that impact is massive. You talk about, and certainly you've lived in your team of well over 100 support funding solutions. I know there's a ton of information, but for those listening, generally speaking, what is available for the older adult population?
So we specialize in the one, and it's called a base pension with aid and attendance. And base pension is for your veterans and widows that are on a very limited budget. Okay, so the VA will automatically approve them for base pension if the veteran makes less than $1,400 a month and the widow makes less than $1,100 a month. They'll give them the difference. So if they bring in $800, they're eligible for $1,100. They'll give them the $300 difference. But then you can add on to that base pension with aid and attendance. And what that is once they're looking to do some in-home care or to move into a community, and that's the easiest, is when they move into a community, it will pay up to $2,050 a month for a veteran to help them move into a community or to pay back their rent at a community. A married veteran is $2,431 a month, and a widow is $1,318. So this is a pension that we assist them with and that is out there under the Veterans Administration that does allow veterans and or their widows obtain it as long as the veteran served at least 90 active duty days and 1 day during a wartime. So that's the area that we specialize in and that is out there for our veterans and widows today to be able to help them pay for their care in a community.
what is the general process for a veteran or spouse of a veteran or family helping?
Sure.
Let's use the case of they're looking at communities and moving to a community. What the general process to kind of apply and get approved?
The application process is the most difficult, honestly, just because you can go to the VA and they'll give you 5 pages of information to fill out, right? And that the information that they need is, are you a veteran that served at least 90 active duty days? Or the widow of a veteran that served at least 90 active duty days? Are you at least 65 years of age? And did you serve at least 1 day during a wartime? So right now we're seeing Korea veterans and widows and Vietnam veterans and widows are what's mainly coming through. And so then we ask, the VA wants to see their income and their assets as well as their service time. So now this is kind of a repayment. So a lot of people want to apply for it so they can afford to move into senior housing when you have to move in first and then get repaid, you get paid back by the VA. So it's a repayment. So that's where a lot of people go wrong, is trying to apply ahead of time. And then the VA has financial limitations that they allow. There's $138,000 liquid asset that they allow, and a home on less than 2 acres. Anything over 2 acres, either it can't be subdivided or it has to go towards their 138,000 in assets. So you have to look those things over before applying. There are kind of workarounds. If somebody's name's been on it longer than 3 years, an account, it's divided equally among all the names. So those are just things to look for. There's a lot that goes into it, boots on the ground, not boots on the ground. So it's a process.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it. Can you help me understand, Suzette, maybe just some, I know every journey is unique, but maybe some common challenges or like a general timeline? You mentioned someone has to move in. I believe it would be a bit of a catch-22 if I'm on limited funds. I need to move, I need support and help sooner rather than later. But yet I need to be living in a community.
Right.
So what's a general, without maybe utilizing, support from Patriot Angels, for example, a timeline and maybe some of the greatest challenges?
So you can call the VA and they tell you it's 1 year to 2 years is kind of their timeline right now, is what they're telling people.
Okay.
It's not factual. If you actually know how to do the process, it's taking about 90 days for us to get them through the process and to approval. And some of the challenges are just getting the forms. There's a lot of forms that have to go to the VA. And so, there's a doctor's form, there's a form signed by the community. And then some of the challenges are they moving into independent or assisted living, or memory care? If they're moving into independent living, does that independent living community have 24-hour staffing that they would respond for a call to help? If they don't, then the client has to be getting 2 ADLs by a third party. So there's a lot of things that you have to know going into this and how to apply and what rules you're applying under.
So, and Patriot Angels is an expert, and you all are experts in this, because this is what you do and this is what you've been living, right, for more than the past decade.
Right.
How does your company help? In what way? And how does somebody reach out to you?
So you can reach out to us, 844-757-3047 is our main line. You can go to patriotangels.com. But the process is they would call and we would do a brief screening just to see if they're even eligible. Julie, unfortunately, we're getting in the era of Vietnam where 55 to 64, they had to prove they were boots on the ground during those years or on one of the ships that was within 12 nautical miles of Vietnam. So now you've got to do that research to see, are they eligible or not? This is a very specific wartime pension. And so if they didn't serve boots on the ground during that time, they're not eligible. If they did, they are eligible. 64 to 75 for Vietnam, they just had to been enlisted. They didn't have to be, boots on the ground at all. They just had to been enlisted. And so there's different requirements for different war times that we go through. If a widow divorces a veteran, it cuts her off from benefits. If the veteran has way too much in assets, we're able to tell them that, hey, wait till your assets are spent down and then call back. So we do a lot of preliminary screening first up front, just to see, are they a good candidate? If they are, we move them forward through the process. And then we're able to assist them gathering documents. We build the application. We send it through our own portal to the VA. We have a VA portal. We stay with the client till they're approved. If the VA wants more information, we gather that information and write the letters to the VA. So it's a process. It's a long process. And then you'll have a client that may want to move, so then they have to notify the VA, and there's those forms. Or the VA may do a checkup yearly. They will do a checkup to see, are you still in the community, still paying out? So we will do those with the client. So we're able, we're a full service process here.
Wow. It sounds like, it sounds like there's help in many levels, that the timeline is shortened from potentially 1 to 2 years to right around 90 days.
Right.
You're experts in knowing, all of these facts and data and the forms and what to do and negotiating this kind of maze. Can you give us a general idea of commitment, cost or how that works?
So we do a long-term care assessment here, and that long-term care assessment is what the fee is for. And it's $1,195. We do that assessment, and then we move forward with them to file the application if that's what they would like to do. So that's what our fee is to do that. But I know you're talking about to increase occupancy. This is where, sticker shock, right? Senior living community, you go and you see, your average is $3,400 to $4,000 a month. People aren't used to paying that at this age group. And so this is where the aid and attendance has been around since Abraham Lincoln, but it's very underutilized. Less than 2% are getting their benefits.
Wow.
And so it's just a matter of saying, are you a veteran or widow? Find out what your benefits are, because that takes that sting off of the cost of senior living, right? And these people deserve it. They deserve to be in these communities and getting the care that they deserve after serving our country. 30 to 50% of the people moving into communities are veterans or widows. 30 to 50, depending on where they're at. That's a huge market. And yet less than 2% nationwide of veterans are getting their benefits. So it's a very underutilized, and a lot of it's because it's hard. It's not easy, but it's very underutilized for our veterans and widows to get the care that they need and deserve.
So it's $1,195. Is that a one-time fee and that's it?
Yep, flat fee, one time, $1,195.
Okay,
Yep.
so if just throwing this idea out here for the providers listening, might this be a great thing to put in your toolbox, your sales toolbox? I know that that incentives of maybe helping pay for a move, or being very competitive in this market of reductions in community fees and things like that, offering to pay for that $1,195 being a concession, right? But the benefit then of helping move that person literally and figuratively forward,
Right.
it will pay off, and certainly from a fiscal standpoint, but also from a support in supporting the people that we serve who have served us.
Exactly.
So,
the community can pay the long-term care assessment fee. They
okay.
can't pay somebody to do the application because they're an interested third party. But
Okay.
they can pay for the long-term care assessment.
Okay.
If they wanted to do that, or the client can pay either way.
Okay. Can you repeat your phone number one more time?
Sure, 844-757-3047 or
Perfect.
patriotangels.com.
PatriotAngels.com, probably the best place to go if you're driving and listening to this and you can't
Right.
jot a phone number down. Real quick before we go, any changes for those who are very familiar with kind of this process and how it works? Anything law related or regulations, benefits, procedure, any changes that have occurred or that you see coming up for 2023?
So the big change is the increase. So every year the benefit goes up with Social Security. And this year they're saying Social Security is anywhere from 8 to 11%. So it's going to be a huge bump in the pension this year. What also happens is, so they have this 138,000 bright line right now that they can have in assets. When the Social Security goes up, that amount goes up too. So if it goes up 10%, we're going to add another $14,000 that they can have on that 138, taking them closer to the 150 mark. So that the amount of assets they can have and still get this benefit is going to go up as well.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, you're a wealth of information. Again, patriotangels.com, Suzette Graham. Real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Mrs. Alaska. So are you from Alaska?
I am. I was raised in Alaska. That's my home. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's my home.
I don't know many Alaska. I don't know any Alaskans. Where did you grow up?
Kenai, south of Anchorage, about 3 hours on the Kenai Peninsula. It's world famous for its fishing efforts. And so that's where I was raised. That's my home. And like you said, I was given the Heroes Award by the governor there for changing the laws to get kids out of foster care and into permanent home placements. And then I was Mrs. Alaska, but.
I love that. I love that. Now, did you have to do like a talent portion? Was that for Mrs. Alaska?
I am a country music artist, I've had the pleasure of opening for Lone Star and Vince Gill and Brooks and Dunn and Trace Atkins and Ty Herndon. And so I've had quite a career in music. And so, yes, I had to sing and yeah.
Wow.
It's been a while. So.
You absolutely, you know what I'm going to ask you to do next time you join the podcast, which maybe I'll find myself ghosted, but I would love to hear that. I'm going to look you up. What a career of serving and now serving people of all ages. It is incredibly admirable. And then to certainly serve those who have served us and continuing to make such a massive impact. Suzette, thank you so much for joining today and for everything that you do for older adults, your families, team members, and the senior living business.
Julie, thank you for having me. And for all those that are listening, just take care of your veterans and your widows. We love them. We appreciate what they've done for our country. And we need to serve those that served us. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure.